Hello, everybody. My name is Samuel Sanger. I am a first-year graduate student at Bowling Green State University. I am part of the College Student Personnel, or CSP program. And through that program, I am working in our Career Center as a career advisor currently. I am pleased to be the moderator for today's Experiential Learning panel. Each Experiential Learning office here will share with you the benefits of the unique opportunities that their area can provide. And we hope that after hearing some of this information, you're motivated to connect with them and learn more. Experiential learning involves a range of activities that occur in and outside of the formal classroom setting. These experiences include community-based learning, public policy projects, undergraduate research, scholarly and creative projects, education abroad, practicums, internships, co-ops and clinicals, and learning communities related to students' majors and or courseworks. So there truly is something for all of our students here. BGSU is also a national leader in providing opportunities in service learning and experiential education. We're also proud to be the first institution in Ohio to offer an internship guarantee to our incoming students. So to get us started and giving us some more information, we're going to hear from the Career Center. So the question that I have for you is, what is the importance of participating in experiential learning opportunities, such as internships and co-ops?
Thank you. I'm Andrea Gutierrez and one of the assistant directors. And I would say it's multifaceted, why it's important, mainly for students to get hands-on experience in the field they plan to go into so they can test drive the field and see if they enjoy the duties and the work. And if not, then it might be an indicator they might want to go a different track. But any experience that can be added to a resume in a workplace environment or for an organization, volunteering, anything along those lines are considered experience, and experience is priceless in terms of what recruiters and employers look for on resumes. So the student becomes more competitive. They get to market themselves better on that document and get experiences prior to looking for the full-time job after graduation. So that would be probably the main importance of those experiences. Thank you.
Awesome, thank you, thank you. I'd next like to turn to our Center for Public Impact. And the question that I'd like to ask you all is, what are the components of a community-based learning course? And what are the benefits of taking these types of courses?
Community-based learning, and some institutions might call it service learning, really is a way of delivering a course that combines regular coursework with community engagement and reflection. So usually students in a class are working on a community issue or problem linked with a partner organization, which is directly engaged with the issue being addressed. So it might be one project the whole class works on, or students might work in small groups, and projects and activities can vary a great deal. But the real focus is an opportunity to apply the skills and knowledge being learned in the class, little like internships, only now you're translating in a class. So an example might be in an art and design course, students might research a nonprofit and come up with visual designs for a marketing campaign to help them attract more donors. And working for an actual client helps students learn more about how to manage a project, negotiate the needs and ideas of a client with their personal passion and interests. In an early inclusive childhood course, it might be working with families and creating adaptive toys for a particular child's needs. And again, learning directly about child development in an applied way, but then being able to link it to learning in the course. And similarly, in business or technology, CBL can happen across the curriculum. And again, their students might be building a business plan for a nonprofit or designing a website. I think the key is that these are all real projects where BGSU students have worked on this past year. And what students tell us is that they're very motivating. They know they're doing a real project for a real client. And it really helps you make sense of what you're reading and thinking about in the course. And now you've got to deliver a project, the stakes are higher for an external organization. So one of the real benefits is this way to master material, but to link it to learning, and then have a chance to apply it and really address a real client where you know you're making a difference. So they're really some of the key pieces for CBL courses.
Yes, the word applied there really stands out to me. I think in terms of learning, getting to apply things just helps it to retain and to apply in the future much better. My next question that I'd like to ask is for our Center for Undergraduate Research and Scholarship. And that question is, why should students participate in a research, scholarly, or creative project with a faculty mentor?
Hi there, thank you. My name is Cordula Mora, and I'm the director for the Center for Undergraduate Research and Scholarship. And we know that the students are really, really busy, but participating in a research, scholarly, or creative project has many advantages for students who choose to do so. Firstly, by working with a faculty mentor, it allows the student to get hands-on experience in the chosen discipline. So that's extremely valuable to see what it's really like to work in that field. They also can build their resume, which will make them more competitive when they leave BGSU. Doesn't matter whether they'll apply for grad school or whether they'll apply for their dream job. Being competitive and standing out is really important. So participating in these kinds of projects allows them to build that resume in a very meaningful way. They will also be able to get a detailed reference letter from their faculty mentor with whom they're working on the project. And that's another important way to stand out when applying for grad school or for a job. When that faculty mentor can really gush about them and talk about them in detail, that makes a huge difference to employers as well as graduate schools. Finally, I'd like to point out that students will also gain experience with giving presentations of their work. And that's a really valuable skill, no matter what they're going to be doing after they leave BGSU. So being able to present their work, to articulate what they have done to a general audience or to an audience of peers in their field is a very, very valuable skill and just requires practice. And we have lots of opportunities for students to be able to practice that.
Awesome, thank you. Our next area is one that my student peers have always been very excited to discuss and explore, and that is education abroad and our international programs and partnerships. And the question that I have for you is, what are the benefits of an education abroad experience in the 21st century?
Thank you, Sam. I'm Michelle Ploeger, Coordinator of Education Abroad and International Programs and Partnerships, and I'm really excited to hear that your colleagues and peers find this topic to be as exciting as I do. I just wanted to share a little bit about what education abroad is. I think some students or parents too may know this as study abroad, which it certainly is. The traditional study abroad model would be taking a course or courses abroad and of course bringing that back for credit. And of course that model still does exist. But we like to use the term education abroad because it's essentially any international education experience falls underneath this umbrella. So in fact, a student could pursue a service learning international experience or research or internship or even teaching abroad, which is really quite exciting and dynamic, and students can customize this experience in many different ways. And of course, there are many, many benefits to this education abroad experience. I feel like I could talk for probably an hour. Of course, we don't have that time. So I'll share with you very succinctly what the most important benefits are. Of course, this is an academic experience. So our students are engaging in this international activity for credit. They can enhance their major or minor, although they don't necessarily have to. They could fulfill gen ed requirements or even our international perspective or other BGP requirements. It's very much a personal journey. So a student's going to immerse themselves very deeply in a new culture. They're definitely going to gain a new global perspective and develop cross-cultural competencies. They're also going to gain a new perspective of themselves and their own country and culture. I think most excitedly, it provides opportunities to network around the world and also find friendships that will continue forever. So there's a lot of personal growth, self-awareness, independence, confidence, certainly. And then most importantly, I think a lot of those personals tie into the professional benefits. I think students definitely are going to see increased employment opportunity from this experience in a global economy. And they now have the opportunity, like I said, to participate in an international internship, even a virtual experience. And so some of the skills gained are going to be improved communication skills, possibly learning a new language, definitely developing leadership and assertiveness skills, problem solving, critical thinking, adaptability, tolerance. So again, I feel like there are just so many benefits that come to mind when we think about this global opportunity and just how dynamic it can be for a student in so many different ways. Thank you.
Great, thank you, thank you. So moving from cultures and communities abroad to the communities that we have here on campus, my next question is for the learning communities area. And that is, what is a learning community and why do so many Bowling Green students join one or even two during their time on campus?
I'm Brett Holden. I'm the Academic Affairs Coordinator of Learning Communities at BGSU, and I also direct the Chapman community, which is focused upon service learning and leadership development. That's a phenomenal question. I get it all the time, and it's based on the answer to that question that so many students at BGSU decide to join us for their first and especially their first 2 years. Back in 1997, when we built Chapman, there were several things that we realized were lacking in undergraduate education. In fact, the president at the time, Sidney Rabeau, and Provost Chuck Middleton called us out to build a community to address several different issues. One of the main issues that we realized was a major challenge for students was a transition from high school to college. And if you're listening to any of the online discussion groups that we're doing right now with students, that's the primary question that students are asking. Those they differ in a variety of different ways, from expectations of professors versus high school students to what an exam at the college level looks like as opposed to a college exam, paper writing, projects, all of those different things. And so we realized that those differences in high school and college were posing some serious problems to undergraduate students, and we needed to address those right off the bat. One of the things that we've realized over the last 24 years of doing this work, for which we're nationally known, is that friendships and human connections are at the core of student success. And you know that as a college student personnel graduate intern, that's why you're in that capacity, right? And so we pride ourselves on the quality and the depth and the power of those relationships that we build. Another thing that we realized was students in the early days had a lot of questions about connecting with faculty. There were a lot of misperceptions coming in about the role of faculty and graduate students and student mentors, and students had a lot of questions about how do I get in touch with people and how do I address them? You know, what's the protocol for that? And so we knew that we needed to address that early on. In fact, we knew we needed to connect those students early on with those resources. One of the things that was profoundly absent at the time was the realization, or the lack of realization, if you will, that what was going on in the residence halls was really as powerful as what was going on in the classroom. So the idea of the living learning environment became very important to the president and the provost and to those of us that were serving on that committee, including the Office of Residence Life and Student Affairs. And so we really did this work for first and second year students to help them transition and to have a really, really powerful experience during their first 2 years at BGSU. And what a lot of people don't realize is that for those students, they were not yet into their core courses in their major. And so they had a lot of questions concerning those issues as well that we could provide answers for within the communities. So 24 years later, we have 19 of these programs, which we'll talk a little bit about later on. Students do join one or two. They can join two. We don't want them joining more than two, primarily for the many benefits that I've underscored in this list.
All right, now that we've heard from the 5 areas of experiential learning that we have here in this panel, I'd now like to go back around and get some more in-depth looks at these different areas. So for the Career Center, I know we offer a lot of in-field experiential learning opportunities. So would you be able to share a recent success story of a student who was able to obtain an experiential learning opportunity?
I would like to share more than one student actually, quickly. We had a student that was able to get an internship at one of the Smithsonian museums in DC. And they have asked her back each semester that she's in college. And just by her having that experience, when the Career Center has offered the spring break trips normally to Washington, D.C., we have asked her to be one of our volunteers to help manage the students that go on the trip with us, due to her first experience. So that was wonderful, because not only did she get to work with the Smithsonian organizations, she also then here at college at BGSU, now she's been tapped by us to also serve in a leadership role. And she can add that on her resume as well under leadership and involvement. And then we've had some recent students complete internships with Delta Airlines. And then we do have a wonderful fashion merchandise area, and students have been very lucky to complete internships at different headquarters in the New Albany area around Columbus. So we've recently had students complete internships with DSW, with Abercrombie and Fitch at the headquarters. So it's a little more training that they're getting on, a little more hands-on. And we just had several students that had completed internships with Marathon Oil at different refineries, so different locations around the United States. Some of these were virtual, but some of these were still in person. So if that gives just kind of a nice blend of what some of our students have been doing and where they have been getting offers, that's what I wanted to showcase. So thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Andy. So moving back around to the Center for Public Impact. So you mentioned some of the benefits of community-based learning. So how does participating in community-based learning or community engagement activities impact a student's career and personal development?
It's a great question. And as I said, CBL courses, much like internships, can really assist students in learning more about the field they're going into and how the knowledge they're learning from classes translates to implementation. Often you'll see community-based learning projects early in a degree program, which really helps a student begin to think about what populations they might want to work on, or serve with an organization that's new to them, where they bring new perspectives. And students often report that those experiences can help them see the professional possibilities of their field. Right before I get to a capstone internship, I may have had a chance. I can remember working with a student who discovered they really had a passion for working with older adults when they really thought they wanted to work with young children, but it was a community-based learning project and then an opportunity to do service there that really influenced their understanding differently. I think for many students, it also, in those broader range of skills, help them think about what it means to be an active citizen, right? Part of a BGSU education is about being a good professional, finding your career passions, but it's also about that larger piece of who I want to be in the world. What are the issues I'm passionate about? How do I learn to work with people who are different than I am? So community-based learning can really have those, a place to practice skills with the community, but also a place to really explore ideas and beliefs about many aspects of the world. For many students, it's thinking about concepts around social justice, who are working with people who are different than themselves. Folks who might have had stereotypes, but they go in and do a service project and find a new area of passion, or often they're building on an experience they've had or their families had that they want to take action on. So I often think of it as sort of a continuum of experiences, and some come from a history of service and they want to extend it here, and think, as many others have illustrated, the skills they can bring that might be very different than when they were in high school, as well as that opportunity to really, think about what kind of citizen do I want to be? What kind of difference do I want to make in the world? And to understand how broad that can be. Today it may be that helping pack food boxes is the most useful thing the organization needs. But in a CBL course, I may be able to help that organization actually write a grant to bring more funding in that impacts another part of that supply chain, for want of a better word. So there's some of the ways I think that really impacts both people's career goals as well as their personal development. And remember, in many careers as professionals, we continue to serve. So for many of them, it's being introduced to, I may continue to serve in my profession, or for a business who's interested in the fact that I'm not just a good professional, but I'm going to bring a commitment to the community I live and work in.
Thank you, V. My next question is for our Center for Undergraduate Research and Scholarship. So my first question was about some of the research and scholarly projects that students are able to do with faculty mentors. So my next question is, does the Center for Undergraduate Research and Scholarship have funding available for these kind of projects?
Thanks, Sam. That's a really great question. And I'd like to stress here that our center provides funding for projects from all disciplines and all fields. So any BGSU undergraduate student can apply for one of our grants. And yes, we have funding available for projects that can be conducted in every semester. So the project itself is typically funded with up to $500 towards the project's costs. And that can include cost if the student has to travel somewhere, either within the United States or outside of the United States, in order to conduct that project. So project funding can be applied in many, many different ways. It completely depends on the field or the discipline, but we can give up to $500 for an individual project with one student or two students. We also have group projects where students can work in groups of 3 to 5 students, and they can get up to $750 towards the cost of their project. So beside that project funding, students will also get a stipend at the end of the project. And well, at the end of the project for fall, spring, and winter, during the project for summer. And the reason for that is that we have different amounts. So for students who work in fall and spring semesters on projects, we expect them to work only a few hours per week on that project, and they will get at the end of the project $200 each for fall and spring semester projects. In the winter session, which didn't happen this year because of COVID, but will hopefully happen again in the future, we give them $100 as a stipend at the end of the project. Those projects are much shorter, they're only a few weeks, while the fall and spring semester projects last 10 weeks. And then summer projects are our biggest projects because they're very big, and we expect the students to work up to 23 hours per week on that project for 10 weeks. We give them a stipend of $2,500 that's paid out in biweekly installments throughout the project during the summer. And then finally, I wanted to mention that we also have $200 travel grants. Students can take that money to offset some of the costs that they would have if they were to present their work outside of BGSU, whether that's within the United States or outside the United States. We want students to go and have that presentation experience to build their resume, and therefore to go outside of BGSU and present their work. And we will contribute $200 to that, and those grants can be applied for on a rolling basis, while the other project, the actual project applications and the funding for projects for the fall, winter, and spring in the summer, you have to apply before the start of the semester for that, and all the deadlines are on our website, or people can of course contact me if they have any questions. But as you can see, we have a lot of money that we're trying to give away to students, so we hope that students will apply. Thanks.
Absolutely, yes. I'm definitely was very excited to hear about all the different bases that are covered by that funding. And like was mentioned, if any students want to find more information out of this, please go on the website for the Center for Undergraduate Research and Scholarship and look up that information because it's all there. You kind of just have to go find it sometimes.
And my contact details are there as well, of course.
Absolutely. So along those same lines of sort of how we make some of these things happen, for our education abroad area, what are some of the opportunities that are offered in education abroad, and what is the process to get some of those opportunities?
Yes, great question, Sam. Thanks for asking. I think we have always prided ourselves on the very diverse portfolio of options that we provide for our BGSU students. So we have over 500 programs in over 40 different countries. And each of these experiences can range from as short as 2 weeks or even up to a year. In fact, students can have multiple experiences too, if they so choose, and that fits into their academic goals, professional goals. We want to make sure that this experience also aligns with the student's comfort level at this time. So with that, I want to start first by informing students that we have 2 BGSU signature programs. So these are homegrown programs that have been in existence for over 50 years, which is quite extraordinary. We just recently celebrated these anniversaries. And what's wonderful about this model is that the students are going to be greeted by a resident director on site with support staff. And they're going to be having planned excursions for them and really kind of have a one-stop shop support when they go to Spain or Austria. I also wanted to mention that we have every year, it varies, faculty-led programs. And this is really a unique, exciting model where the student is part of a cohort and they're able to go to an international location that was determined by that faculty member with a theme. And they reside there for a week, 2, 3 weeks, study the course content, but then also, of course, explore the region and participate in a lot of exciting excursions. Could also be more business oriented, all different types of programming available. So that's quite exciting. And I think it's unique because the students are able to really have quite a unique relationship with that faculty member and that cohort. So some really strong connections are made. We also have a number of exchange partners. So these are institutions worldwide that we have formal agreements arranged with, and we're actually able to literally exchange students. So it's a bilateral exchange. So every year we welcome a large group to our campus of incoming international students who are here for a semester or a year, but we are also able to send our students to that campus. That's a really unique, immersive experience where the student's able to partake in the coursework at that host institution, but also engage in a lot of the extracurricular activities on that campus and have the opportunity to really explore that region where they'll be for that extended time. And then in addition to that, we also have 8 affiliate partners, strong partners that we've worked with for a number of years that each also provide a diverse portfolio of program opportunities if our students are unable to find what I've already mentioned. And they too can provide, of course, study opportunities, research, service learning, internships, and more. So just hopefully I've communicated that, again, our portfolio really is just so diverse and we really offer something, I think, for every student, even graduate students, if that's something that they're interested in looking more into. And much like the director of CURS, we too have financial aid opportunities. So of course, this is an academic experience, so students are able to tap into their federal and state aid. In many cases, the institutional aid too. We have a travel grant. We also have other scholarships posted on our website that students can look into where donors have given back to the institution. So again, the funding dollars are there. We just need to direct the students to that information. So the process essentially is we're open, welcome anytime, even virtually now. We have information sessions live once a week at this time. Pre-pandemic, they were every day in person. Of course, we transitioned to virtual. So every Tuesday from 11 to 11:30 this spring semester, we have a live info session. And that's really the first step because we give a broad overview of what education abroad is, what the opportunities look like, considerations, timelines, applications, all the next steps. So I'd really encourage students to check out our webpage, tune into our social media. We will have announcements about that on campus updates, but really it's the info sessions, the first start. And then we will have one-on-one advising appointments with the students as many times as is needed. So thank you.
Yes, thank you. Having an option available for every student was definitely the thing that came to my mind there. And as she mentioned, if you'd like to find out more, get some of that information and get started on that, please go to the website of Education Abroad at Bowling Green State University. And then moving on to learning communities. So previously I had asked about sort of what are learning communities. So for Brett, could you tell me, what are some of the benefits of joining a learning community?
So in a learning community, sort of suggested by the comments that I made earlier when you had asked me the question about what an LC is, the central concept is actually living your education, right? So for many of us that run residential learning communities, that involves students living within the hall and doing programming within the hall. If I look at Cole Hall, where we're housed here, we did a total renovation of the first floor. There are faculty, graduate student offices, classrooms. There's a cafe, an art production studio, a music recital space. It's really integrating the living and learning sort of aspect of that. For those that are themed communities, they may or may not be located within a hall, but many of the communities move students in early to give them some time to get to know one another, to do some programming, depending upon the nature of the learning community, of which we speak, and to really begin to help them transition and find their people right off the bat when they get here. These learning communities are attractive to students also because they appeal to their major or an area that they're interested in studying. So if you're an aviation major, an education major, or a music major, a business major, et cetera, we've got a learning community that applies directly to what it is that you're studying. If you're interested in more of a general approach to this and you want to really work on your skill set and learn how to interact with community partners and shape social change and learn to lead, you would join a program like Chapman. And we take all majors, whereas other communities may just take majors for their specific area. The idea is within these communities, students really love the common events. They love taking classes together and they enjoy traveling together, whether it be to a major city or an area of the US or even traveling internationally together, bringing together that living and that learning aspect. The other reason that they enjoy the communities and one of the main benefits is that they get to know their faculty very well. They have some leaders on campus that they can always reach out to in the 4 years that they're with us. And they go on to become friends of ours in years later as alumni and return to see us. The friendships that develop within the community itself are incredibly powerful. Over the last 20 some years, I've seen students be in each other's weddings, be godparents to each other's children, come back for homecoming, meet within the US in certain areas for reunions, go on family vacations together, et cetera. There's a ton of academic and personal support within the community. We bring the resources to the students so they're not hunting those down. And then naturally, what happens is that they have a great deal of fun. Whether we're kayaking, canoeing, climbing, caving, hiking, camping, going to the opera, whether we're building a habitat house as part of our service learning component, all these different things, watching films, inviting guest speakers, et cetera. In the end, what we see and what really speaks to the parents of our students is the fact that these students retain. They finish their degrees at a higher rate at BGSU, their grade point averages are higher, and they have a higher sense of student satisfaction. And so we're very confident in the work that we do. We're very happy that the students join us. And those are only some of the reasons that they join us each year. Like Michelle said, I could go on for 2 hours about this. But I hope that I've hit on several of the main key areas that attract students to our programs annually.
Right, so we're going to move back around our circle of experiential learning, back to the Career Center. So it is inevitable that COVID-19 is going to affect some of the industries and some of the career field that's out there. And I know that's something that's on the mind of a lot of students. So my question for you, Andy, is what industries are thriving during this COVID-19 world? And what impact has this had on some of the student opportunities that are out there?
Sure. As one would probably think, first and foremost, most of the positions in healthcare are thriving at this moment. They were before this moment, and now even more so, obviously. So it could be from those workers that go in and clean the room, so more janitorial on that level, to nurses, physicians, LPNs, anyone in the healthcare area pretty much, as well as pharmacy techs. That area has really increased. Online shopping has taken off, obviously. So customer service for shopping and manufacturers, taking orders, stocking positions, distribution, so that supply chain area and the logistics, the trucking industry, social services, especially in mental health care and mental health care assistance, and those agencies that advocate for those people and families, children that need assistance in some way, shape, or form. There have been many jobs lost. So job and family services. So those that work in that capacity and advocacy for others to get them on self-help programs as well. Cybersecurity is huge at the moment. Technology jobs, computer science jobs, software developer jobs. There are a lot of new programs because we're doing so much online and with students in schools. So that remains an even stronger area. Also sales with particular areas such as appliances. People have stayed home more, and now so those stores such as ABC Warehouse and Best Buy and those that sell electronics, with people staying home more, furniture's getting worn out more as well. So it's very interesting what areas have amped up, which are those that I mentioned, and that there are several more, but those are probably the main areas that we've seen an increase in. That if you do a search online and gather research, those areas are the ones that are tending to populate first. So, but there are jobs now that didn't exist as well. So there's a lot of positive that have come out of it. And we see a lot of our students now being delivery drivers and working for UPS more, or other shipping companies. And it has created a lot of jobs that before were hard to get into, and now they are more readily available. So thank you for that question. Just one last thing, I would like to let individuals know that we are located in the student union, so very centrally located on the second floor, right directly above Falcon Outfitters, in which we share a lobby area with student employment. And all of our information and individual information for our staff will be located on the landing page. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Andy. And I can definitely attest that our Career Center has a lot of friendly faces. And the website also has a page with a tab just full of student resources. So I would encourage any students out there to take full advantage of those things. So my next question is for the Center for Public Impact. And this is a question that I believe is very important to students and really anyone. And that is, how is community engagement different from volunteering?
Well, that's an interesting question, and it comes up a lot. And I think it's perhaps not necessarily how it's different, but how they're part of a continuum of ways people engage. You know, volunteering, service are a set of core activities that are often at the root of all forms of community engagement, whether we're giving our time, our talents, working part of a team as individually. But I think community engagement obviously encompasses volunteering, but usually the community engagement piece pushes us to really embed learning about the issues with the activities we're engaged in, and to focus on working with a community and community members, and focusing on understanding how our service, whatever that looks like, is having an impact. Because now obviously we have a lot of service that, when we say direct, is happening via the web, via technology formats, not in a hands-on way, as it might have given social distancing. It's often why college students we have many, many partners who are really passionate about our students at BG getting involved, because they know that younger volunteers are the future of their organizations, but they are often also bringing technology skills. So I think often in community engagement too, we really want to engage with the service, but we want to focus on learning about the root causes, understanding why a situation is. While we may take action, we always hope that we leave thinking, how do I change this? You know, because I've been thinking a lot about food pantries over the Martin Luther King Day weekend, is the food pantry is not going to solve our food insecurity issue, right? So that critical question is earlier on in the process, but hopefully the direct service of the food pantry helps us think about community engagement strategies, where I start to ask these different kinds of questions. So it also means that we're building relationships that engage us in thinking about root causes, and also thinking about reciprocity with the community work with, right? Where sometimes we can go do a volunteer shift and we've not really had to engage with anyone impacted by that service, or we might not learn about that organization. So we really try and promote the kind of projects where it has that learning component, where you get to engage. And it also means focusing on equity and social justice questions, right? So we often are trying to develop a critical understanding of the social issue we're addressing, which is often where there's the links to what's happening in the classroom through learning communities, or in international programs or career services where people are engaging in a different country to understand something that's happened. Or they're working with a business that really prioritizes corporate giving and corporate engagement and requires that of people who work for them. So I would say, for example, I think we try and think about public problem solving, how we engage together, and we do in our center a lot of work around critical dialogues, democratic dialogues. And for example, you'll see that students, faculty, staff, and community members who are part of our key initiatives, like our Alternative Breaks program, Food Justice and Equity, BGSU Votes, and even our Peace Corps prep option for undergraduates, regularly commit time to discussion prior to, during, and after working on a project, where they're dialoguing with their peers and with the broader community. So we're bringing that deep understanding. And part of what we also do in terms of students who might want to get involved with us is we have a leadership team, the public impact leaders who are undergrads working with grad students, and they're really at the forefront of offering and designing our community engagement updates. So if students or faculty or even staff members want to get involved, they can sign up for a weekly newsletter that lists concrete ways you can get involved and links to learning about issues in the community. And you can also still do consultations, right? They're going to be virtual. Our office is open every day over in 100 University Hall, right by the front door. But a lot of our communication is now online, where we're scheduling meetings, meeting with students, helping them figure out both looking for CBL courses or internship placements or work with many of our students that start as volunteers and then end up working with community partners. But the philosophy we bring is really this piece about the continuum of engagement and ways that we're prepared to really take action on the issues we decide are particularly pertinent to us. And our role is to help facilitate that.
So the last time that we Center for Undergraduate Research and Scholarship, I was asking about some of the projects that are offered and how we make those projects happen. So the next step that I would be curious about is sort of what happens after those projects have been worked on. So my question is, what opportunities are available for students to present their projects and to use those projects to build their resumes?
Wonderful. Thank you, Sam, for the question. So as I had mentioned earlier, first of all, giving a presentation is a skill like any other that you need to practice. And what better place to practice it in a friendly environment at BGSU. So for that reason, we have several events throughout the year where students with or without course funding can present their work. So you don't have to have a course grant in order to present at our events. It's open to anyone. Besides practicing at these events, how to give a good presentation and to network, which is another really important aspect of attending these events, to present, whether you're presenting or not, networking with peers as well as seniors, is the other component is to build your resume. So the more presentations you have on your resume, the better. So not only do you get to practice each time, but you each time get to add a line to your resume showing that you have presented your work at an event. And we have 3 events throughout the year. The first one is the Embracing Global Engagement Conference in the fall semester. At this event, we have students present who have been abroad or who worked on projects with an international global focus or who had intercultural experiences, like, for example, the students that went to the Navajo reservation as one of their courses. Or we have international students who present from their perspective their work. So there are many opportunities for students to present who have had international or global experience, whether on campus or off campus, intercultural experience. They can present at this particular event, and we work also closely with Michelle's office so that we encourage students to present their experiences, also to allow other students to see what they have done while they were abroad, so that it hopefully encourages the other students, the next generation, to also go and say like, hey, I want to go to New Zealand, or I want to go to Japan, or I want to go to Europe, and I want to do this too. So we really strongly encourage students to present at this event for their own resume, as well as to encourage other students to get similar experiences. The second event that we have is then in the spring, where we have the Undergraduate Symposium on Diversity. This symposium encourages students to present who are working on any project related to diversity in the broadest sense. These can be course-based projects as well as projects that have been conducted with a faculty mentor. And again, you don't have to have a course grant in order to be allowed to present at any of our events. Anyone can present their projects. Finally, in the late spring, we always have our big annual Undergraduate Symposium for Research and Scholarship, and that one is open to any topic from any discipline, any field, any undergraduate student at BGSU. And sometimes we even host a regional version, and that means that we have students from other institutions in the region also present at this event. So it's a very, very big event, great opportunity to see what other students have done, to present your own work, to network, wonderful opportunity to make connections with peers or in other disciplines, to make connections with people who are ahead of you. So wonderful opportunity. And we have students, if their topic fits, they have presented at 2 of our events and sometimes even all 3 of our events. So if the topic is suitable, we encourage the students to give their presentation as many times as possible. Builds their resume, builds their presentation skill. And finally, I would like to mention that the Center for Undergraduate Research and Scholarship is located in University Hall on the 3rd floor. And we're doing a lot of things virtual at the moment, but hope to be back on campus hopefully soon. But I can be reached definitely by email. My contact details are on the course website, so BGSU/course. And you can find me there and ask me any question that are related to undergraduate research, scholarly, and creative experiences, and I'll be very happy to help you. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you to the Center for Undergraduate Research and Scholarship. And that is also abbreviated to CURS, or CURS. So if you ever see that written out anywhere, that is what that acronym means. And then my next question is for education abroad. So as COVID-19 continues to be addressed, how are students going to be informed and provided updates regarding how education abroad is proceeding in COVID?
Thank you, Sam. So yes, we're still existing in a period of a necessary moment of pause, of course, with the pandemic that we're still faced with and dealing with every day. The university, of course, continues to monitor that for everyone, all of our units. An announcement for summer 21 opportunities will be made in the very near future. And then the status for fall 21 experiences and year 21-22 experiences will be made in early summer. So we're really hopeful, of course, with all of the news with the vaccinations. And so this is a great time for students to continue conducting their research and planning. The application deadline for summer, fall, and year 21 is March 1st. So there's still some time for students to get all of their application materials in. And if need be, we can even extend some of those deadlines if it's looking like it's definitely more optimistic as we move along. And then the deadline for spring 2022 is October 1st. So then there is quite a bit of time for students to get their applications in for the second half of the next academic year. So we're really hopeful. We continue, like I said, to host those live virtual info sessions every week. And we'll also have special themed sessions too. So we always have one session on financial aid. We will again invite Dr. Susana Juarez, who's the resident director of our Spain program, to discuss more about her program specifically, and more. So students, of course, can find those on our website, also in campus updates. Students can contact us via email. Our office email is edabroad, EDABROAD @bgsu.edu. So we encourage any inquiries, any questions to come to us. And we're located as well in University Hall on the 3rd floor in 301. So we're right above some of our partners here, right above the admissions office. So very centrally located on campus as well. And yes, we're hopeful. It's been obviously a struggle for all of us, but still a great opportunity, I think, for this pause for them to really conduct their research, and a great time to ask us questions. So thank you.
Yes, thank you, Michelle. And to repeat that application deadline for spring 2022 education abroad, that is October 1st. So if you're interested, definitely put that on your calendars. And the final formal question that I have is for our learning communities area. So as a student, where can I find information about BGSU's extensive learning community network, potentially connect with a director, or stop by picking up promotional materials for the program?
Sam, I coordinate 19 of these programs, and every one of them is different. They address a certain subset of the undergraduate student population. They're promoted by the colleges or departments or areas for different reasons. They have different mission statements. They have different learning outcomes, and they have completely different experiences in many instances. And so the best thing to do is to get a hold of the director. So if it were Chapman's director, that would be me. And the way that you would find those directors is to visit our learning community main landing page, which is www.bgsu.edu/communities. And when you type that in and hit enter, then they all drop down and you can search them by major specific or areas of interest specific, and then delve into the exploration process with each one of those. There are videos in there for the different learning communities. There are overviews of where they're located and what they entail. But of most interest and concern is the director's name and contact information, which is on every one of those pages. So that is the way to do it. Reach out directly to the director, join them for coffee, phone call, Zoom meeting, and ask the questions that you have to figure out whether or not it's the right fit. The second thing to do is to come and visit us in our office in 110 University Hall. That is the Office of Learning Communities. You can reach us at 419-372-9979 during regular business hours, or you could send us a direct email. You could email directly to me at bholden, that's BHOLDEN, at bgsu.edu. I'd be happy to line you up with a director or answer questions that you have in general. But overall, that's how you get in touch with us. That's what I'd recommend as far as trying to figure out what these programs really entail and what their foci are. Thank you so much for hosting this event today. I know that you had to take time out of your schedule to do that, but it's wonderful for all of us, and we're all good friends on this call, to be part of this experiential learning discussion and to encourage each of you that have interest in our areas to look us up.
Perfect. Thank you, Brett. And that definitely continues the theme of having opportunities for everyone. And I can certainly say that in my experience, learning communities are a great step into finding other opportunities, because there's always people who will pull you into things or open new doorways for you. So I would definitely encourage all students to take that step, because you certainly never know where it's going to take you. But yeah, so in terms of experiential learning, those are the 5 areas we were able to hear from today. And we all certainly hope that you were able to explore all those opportunities more. As people have listed emails, websites, and phone numbers, definitely write those down, take advantage of those, because we're all here for students, trying to make the student experience better for everyone. So we would all definitely appreciate the opportunity to do that for you and all of your peers.